I want to turn now to questions of spirituality in this, with regard to what's going on at the moment in the world. You're seeing some people, not just in the Jewish religion, but all kinds of religions and all kinds of spiritual people who are saying God is doing this to the world because of X or because of Y. Is this wise to say? Is it wise even to speculate on these questions?
So there's a very interesting debate amongst Jewish theologians. There's a famous book called Torah Savram, which does teach a person in their own individual life, if they tune in, how they can read messages from God even without prophecy. That said, on collective mass scale, it's I think you need prophecy to be able to answer questions like this. Because amongst other things, there's a concept called Hanagas HaYichud, where God is driving creation in pathways as part of a tapestry or scenario that's way greater than we can see. And something like this that affects all of humanity and is pushing and driving things, it's very hard for us to give a specific, God's doing it because of A. For one thing, it's very hard to say what all of humanity would have been doing wrong together anyway. But what we can talk about is something like this is bizarre, it is strange, and therefore it's calling upon us to respond. And what response we produce may well be a part of the plan. We don't know the plan. I really think it's important. We don't know God's plan. We know that God's driving history in ways that we don't fathom or imagine, assuming I'm talking about believers in God. There might be people out there who disagree with the fundamental philosophy behind this. But in principle, going with the Jewish traditional theological philosophical worldview, and there's several of them, but generally speaking, we would see God driving the general patterns of history. But for us, it's how do we rise to the moment? How do we, on the one hand, how do we not get crushed by it? But more than just how do we get through it, how do we rise to it? There's a response being called upon, and that is for us to rise. And I believe that we do have the ability to rise here and become much greater. I think we could get outside of ourselves and to the givers, to those in the same isolation as us, if there are, and to those beyond. Who needs our help? How can we help them? What can we do to become greater? How can we further our relationship with God and with others? How can we become greater givers? How can we exude goodness out there to the world? How can we become generals in the battlefield of bringing good into the world that can long outlast this virus? Long outlast.
Right. And on the topic of speculation, I see people saying, "Oh, this is a sign of the end times. It's a sign of Moshiach," all that kind of stuff. Is it? What do you think when you see?
I wish I had prophecy that some of the greatest prophets in the biblical time tried to work out when the Messianic era is coming. My understanding is the Messianic era comes when humanity brings it about, and therefore, who knows? Is it a potential portal that offers a chance? Are there certain portals in history? Could this be one of them? Possibly. I think personally that what we need to shape our view is just the knowledge that history will arc eventually to a messianic moment, and to a moment when we look back and see that all our good actions brought it about, and always live our good actions as if every single one of them could tilt the whole world, which, by the way, this virus certainly teaches us. It shows you literally a sneeze in a market in China literally can affect 7 billion people within a few weeks. And that means that literally acts of goodness will also move one person at a time and affect 7 billion people within a few weeks. Let's not forget that, and let's make that lesson outlive this as well. We're very interconnected. One relationship at a time, one sneeze at a time, one handshake at a time. The world is affected. So, seeing as that, those are sorts of things which I think are very profound and important. Yes. So the notion of a messianic end should shape every act we do all the time. Speculating over when we're about to hit Mashiach, I don't know. I hope it's true. I hope it's today, but I don't know if we have the gift of prophecy to know these things.
And why should someone want? In the Jewish perspective, why should someone want the Messianic era?
Why should? Well, I think it's very comforting, in an anxious moment, to know that it's all going to come out the other side for the good is good. But I think the correct use for this attitude, it is deeply embedded into Judaism. I think Rabbi Sachs pointed out once that we often read in self-help books and business help books that in some culture, Chinese, I think the idiom or the word for crisis is similar to the word for opportunity. And he points out that in Hebrew we have an even stronger word, which is mashber. The word for crisis is mashber, and that's a word for a birthing stool. That after a crisis, things won't be the same again, but they have an opportunity to bring things even greater than were before. And collectively, as a Jewish people, we've always embraced the aftermath of every crisis with a building of something that is greater than had previously existed. Nationally, we've done that, and we strive to do that individually. During a crisis, it's not easy for us to work out what it will be, but during crisis, we can rise together. And that's what I think we have to do right now. Right now, people need us. It's time to get out of wallowing in self-pity and fear and anxiety and start to think about our usefulness to others and our giving to others and our growing of ourselves and others. And once this all moves away, there might be something much greater built into humanity than, and into ourselves and into the Jewish people than was before.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.